Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to my Holy Monday reflection. While I understand it is school holidays and the winding up of the work week for Good Friday and the long weekend, that is Easter, and the joy and expectation that comes with having a 4-day break, I do hope that you all take the time to sit and reflect on these momentous events in the life of Jesus' last week before his crucifixion and why they matter for you and for me. Some of the readings that are available for today, depending on whether you're simply doing morning or evening prayer or Holy Communion, there are 3 readings that I'm particularly drawn to for today out of all the selections that we've got. And they are Isaiah 42 verses 1 to 7, portions of Psalm 27, and then the passage of John 12, 1 to 11. In my reflection yesterday, I said that while it's important that we recognize Jesus as the embodiment of the plan of God for the reconciliation between God and creation, that includes you and me, and this was planned out through the feasts of Israel, I noted that for many of us, these feasts are meaningless, and we want to know why Jesus is important for us. Here in Isaiah 42, verses 1 to 7, we get a glimpse into why Jesus is important. We read, "Here is my servant whom I uphold, my chosen one with whom I am pleased, upon whom I have put my spirit. He shall bring forth justice to the nations, not crying out, not shouting, not making his voice heard in the street. A bruised reed he shall not break, and a smouldering wick he shall not quench, until he establishes justice on the earth. The coastlands will wait for his teaching. Thus says God, the Lord, who created the heavens and stretched them out, who spreads out the earth with its crops, who gives breath to its people and spirit to those who walk on it. I, the Lord, have called you for the victory of justice. I have grasped you by the hand. I formed you and set you as a covenant of the people, a light for the nations, to open the eyes of the blind, to bring out prisoners from confinement and from the dungeon, from those who live in darkness." Isn't that a great passage? As we can see from this short passage, the word justice appears 3 times. What is this justice that Isaiah is speaking about? The passage is part of the servant song, which is contained in the chapters 40 to 55 of Isaiah. While justice in the earlier parts of Isaiah tended to be more about social justice, here in these chapters, justice relates to God's free salvation of God's people who are in exile. It's about God's free and liberating agency rather than God's call to God's people to reflect that in their social relationships. It doesn't mean, of course, that social justice is not important. No, that's been dealt with earlier. Here, there is simply a different emphasis on the free salvation of God's people who are in exile, releasing them from bondage and calling them to freedom. Here, the prophet is giving a wonderful image to the people of God, a wonderful image of freedom under God, to be who they truly are. The prophet is speaking about the servant of the Lord, who, as we as Christians interpret as being Jesus, because he fits that model. The writer says, "A bruised reed he will not break, a smouldering wick he will not extinguish." Jesus is gentle on us. When we are at our most fragile, our most vulnerable, Jesus comes alongside us and stands with us, supports us, and if necessary, takes our burdens fully on himself. Are we feeling bowed down by the world, by whatever situation we are in? Jesus is there to come alongside and comfort and console you and me. He is able to commence the work of recreation in each of us by not snuffing out our spirit or our sense of worth or our sense of who we are. The church might try to do that to us, certainly has tried that on myself and Alison in the last 16 months, but we have clung close to Jesus, to the Spirit of God that sustains and comforts us. Later in the passage we have here, God sets the servant Jesus as a covenant for the people. This is what I noted yesterday, that Jesus fulfills the feasts of Israel in himself, and thereby in his body becomes the covenant by which we are incorporated into the life of God. It was done initially through Abraham, then it was done through Israel, and now it is through the person of Jesus. This covenant servant, Jesus, is a light to the nations. He is going to open the eyes of the blind and bring prisoners from confinement and those in dungeons out of the darkness. This is what is going on in the passage in John 12. Here we have the story of Jesus after the events of Palm Sunday, going to Bethany to the house of Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. When we recall the raising of Lazarus, we are reminded that Lazarus is being called forth by Jesus out of the confinement of the tomb, still in his burial strips, and Jesus commands that he be set free. Jesus is embodying the covenant purposes of God, which God has called him to perform. Lazarus is but one example of him doing this. Another example is Mary, the sister of Lazarus, who anoints him here. This story is very similar to the one in Luke 7, where the woman is not identified. It's clear that John has taken the story and applied it to this situation in Holy Week, as it fits appropriately with the upcoming burial, thus the reference. But let's go back to the original story in Luke and see what is going on there. There is a woman whom Bible commentators regularly dismiss as simple and as a sinner. How typical of the Bible to treat women in such a terrible way. However, she is a woman who loves Jesus. She loves Jesus, and she demonstrates this by her action of anointing him. She is a bruised woman. She is fragile, but she's also incredibly strong, for she comes into the house of Simon uninvited. Simon, who is the head of the house, wants to crush her, destroy her completely, as she does not fit in his idea for a woman and behavior of a woman. But Jesus sees the whole woman and does not seek to break her or to snuff out her smouldering flame of dignity. He honors her and upholds her and restores her to full dignity. This is the Jesus that we worship and follow. He comes alongside us and sees us. He recognizes who we are, even if the world does not see us or recognize us, and seeks only our destruction. There are so many people in our world who are living quiet lives of desperation, and they need to know that they do not have to live in the shadows, in the confinement of their fears and doubts. This is the hope that we have in Jesus. This is the life of the old creation. And so the life of the new creation is about being liberated from these doubts and fears, from being condemned, crushed and destroyed. That's the old. Jesus is the new. The new creation is all about having new life, new hope in a wonderful new relationship with God through the person of Jesus. This is why he matters, and this is why we need to follow him. The Lord be with you.